Colin King.
Mr Speaker, what we heard from that Green member certainly makes Chris Hipkins put his hands on his head in despair, because they know that there's no hope when you have such a disunified opposition with such crazy ideas. And what we heard from the Green Speaker over the last 5 minutes was nothing but negativity and the celebration of saying no. What I'd like to talk about, Mr Speaker, is the positive things that are happening around trade training. And I was down in Christchurch the other day looking at the employment hub down there, and I'm pleased to report there's some fantastic things happening down there. And the most important, I thought, was the 300 young men and women coming from Rotorua who are going to be working in the new year with Fletcher Construction, Hawkins Construction and other very reputable construction firms in Christchurch. That's a government, Mr Speaker, showing initiative, get the timing right and reinforcing the value of trades and the skills that are necessary. When you stop and look at what the government's doing, Mr Speaker, it is very focused, it is structured, and it's a balance between maintaining the entitlements of those who need support, as well as stimulating the economy and not going overboard with debt. So when you look at the infrastructure report that was just released, there's 67 infrastructure initiatives that this government is entering into, and they've all got a focus about creating a far more competitive and productive economy. Let's have a look at some of those. $5.5 billion to repair the terrible damage that befell Christchurch and Canterbury. $1.6 billion of ultra-fast broadband, and also they do not forget the rural community. The RBI is a very important part of that, and we know why it should be, Mr Speaker, is because 70-odd% of this country's export earnings come from the rural community, and we constantly need to remind all New Zealanders that we need the smartest and the brightest in those businesses to grow this economy. We've got $5 billion going into the national electricity grid. Now that is hugely important, especially in the top of the south where the Kaikoura electorate is, because we do need efficiencies there because of the distance from the generators down in Islington and so on, and distributors. We've got $12.12 billion going into roading between 2012-2015. All very positive stuff, Mr Speaker. Creating jobs and doing the best we can and working on things like the 2,000 jobs in the ultra-fast broadband rollout, 2,700 people with regards to the Auckland and Waikato hospitals, as well as the Marlborough Hospital, Wairau, and the private hospitals that's been built beside that. 1,000 more jobs with regards to the motorways, 240 with the Tauranga East Link, 1,500 odd jobs with regards to the transmission power upgrade. It's just so very positive, and still the government keeps finding resources to reinforce the trades and skills with the rebuild and finding employment opportunities. However, we have to mention, Mr Speaker, the obstructive nature of the opposition when they've said no to more gas and oil exploration, when they've said no to the very fine policy of the 90-day trial for new employees, the 3,000 jobs that were created by having The Hobbit produced and filmed here, the irrigation that the South Island so urgently needs. The opposition, the Greens and Labor, have obstructed, as well as the reforms around local government. However, on the other side of it, I think New Zealanders need to be incredibly fearful if they move forward with a Greens-led opposition in the government, because the capital gains tax is such a negative aspect. It will decimate those enterprising young people that reach out to and get into their farms and grow their economy. It will, the irrigation taxes, it costs enough now for a farmer to be able to get water past his gate. Some of these irrigation schemes cost about $7,000 per hectare to get water past the gate. It will stimulate the economy by actually hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year, benefiting all of New Zealand. And what does Labor want to do? Tax it.
The Honourable Leanne Dalzell.
Mr Speaker, on behalf of the government, let me be clear that no one will be left to walk